We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Back here, Hour 2 Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Remember, if you missed any of the show in Hour 1, you want to listen on your own time, you can always download Money Moves in podcast form wherever you get your podcast. Had a great conversation, especially, I think, with Mike Maniscalco, covers the Carolina Hurricanes.
It was okay.
Call Me Crazy, but was very fun today. We had a couple interesting arguments and opinions on both the NBA and Stanley Cup finals as they continue on. Speaking of which, Game 3 coming up tonight. We will have Spurs play-by-play man Jacob Toby join the program, get his perspective as San Antonio is down 2-0 right now and headed to MSG in New York. And we just got some big coaching news in the National Hockey League. The Los Angeles Kings have hired Peter Laviolette to be their next bench boss. And Jonathan Davis, of course, VSiN NHL betting expert. He lives in Los Angeles. He's very dialed into the Kings organization. He'll give us his opinion on the hire.
You love that a lot? That hire?
Yeah.
I was trying to play on the name.
Oh, giving some alliteration.
Love it a lot.
Love you. Sure. I do like the hire, so I'm curious what Jonathan Davis has to say. Interesting, though, that both the Kings and the Oilers were not granted permission, of course, for Bruce Cassidy, which is another tie into the Vegas Golden Knights and Carolina Hurricanes in the Cup final. So.
All I know is that in hockey, much like the NFL, but it seems to be at a higher degree, I just hear a lot of the same names.
Retreads, baby.
Yeah,
we love a good retread.
That's all it is. I don't understand. Yeah. I don't understand it at all.
I think he's a good coach, though.
Who's the youngest coach in the NHL?
Let's see. I don't know. I don't know that answer.
Who are the up-and-coming? Who are the Sean Sweeneys of the world? For those who don't know, Sean Sweeney is the elite defensive assistant for the Spurs who just got the Orlando Magic job. Who's a Clint Kubiak type, right? Las Vegas Raiders head coach. That was the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks, for those who don't know.
This would be a good question for Jonathan Davis when he joins us.
Okay.
Because it is. You're dead on, though. It's
Seems like a lot of names there.
It's a lot of the same guys.
Like the fact that Bruce Cassidy's going job to job and the uproar is like, we should be able to interview this guy. Like, he just got fired. Again. But okay.
Sharks head coach?
Okay.
We will discuss this a little bit more later on. Like I said, we got some Major League Baseball, though, 8 games to come for you today. But before we look forward, you want to look back real quickly at the weekend and some injuries that popped up?
I don't think we need to do like a ton on this. I just thought it was worth pointing out a little bit of a weekend recap. The big one was yesterday in the 7th inning, Bobby Wood Jr. leaving the game with some knee soreness. And the reason why this matters is, of course, we had Aaron Judge go down with injury for a long term, and we'll see when he comes back. So this AL MVP market now kind of in flux and in some chaos. We saw that yesterday before it went down is plus 145. The Royals are saying all the right things. They don't think that it's going to be something that is going to be long term. But, you always get a little bit worried with knee soreness. And Witt was already, I think we discussed this with Will Hill on Friday, Witt was already somewhat of a fragile favorite at the top of the market. And he was tied with Yordan Alvarez. And I would argue the two guys at the top are fragile favorites in themselves just because of where their teams are at this point right now. Even if Witt is going to be healthy, the Royals are 27-39 and not playing well. The Astros are 30-37 and not playing particularly well. So you have these weak, what's the word I'm looking for, resumes. You have an injury that might be affecting Bobby Witt Jr. You've got a vacuum of power with Aaron Judge. So the question just remains of who you're going to look at for American League MVP. As we brought up, and I like the way that Will put it when we talked to him, like, I don't really think there's a wrong answer here. But for my money, if the Tampa Bay Rays, which are currently tied with the New York Yankees, but if they're going to be able to potentially stay on top, I say potentially because they haven't been a particularly great road team. They're 500 when they play away from home. They've also lost 2 straight and have only won 3 out of the last 10 games. So they're kind of hitting a little bit of the skids here. But why wouldn't you look at somebody like a Junior Caminero at the top there? I know that we talked to it. I can't wait to talk to Adam Burke about this. A little bit of a homer pick, but I think he was right to an extent. Many weeks ago, we talked about Jose Ramirez at 35-1. So potentially something looking at there. But I see these names and I want to take a bite somewhere. I don't know.
Just don't know where to go.
Yeah, you just don't know where you would want to go at this point right now. But this does seem like one where man, is there some chaos where any one of these dudes can take this award just because of the attrition that is hitting this market right now.
Also, because we talk about the Judge injury, Austin Wells added to the injured list Saturday for the Yankees as well, and a list that continues to grow for New York at this point. Of course, they're odds-on favorites in the AL East, and they are the expected team to obviously come out of that division, but how do they handle this time now with more and more pieces going down and Judge at such a core, important piece of your offense? How do they answer?
Yeah, well, and then with the absence of him, then you get Ben Rice, who many would assume is just going to step up to the mantle of being the guy that potentially could win MVP. The market would dictate that. But he is going to start to get that treatment as well, where, hey, look, if you're the only threat in this lineup, maybe we're not going to have to really throw to you. Goes over the weekend in the final game against the Boston Red Sox. So we'll see what that does. Ultimately, in the series against Boston, I think he ended up going 2 for 12, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, how Rice plays here is going to be very fascinating, too, as the Yankees are still maintaining a little bit. And I think they've got the pieces to do it. I don't think they're going to fall off a cliff. So you've definitely got to get the Rays to continue to go. And I think that ties into the Caminero thing. See the odds here, by the way, for the American League East division odds. Yankees still the odds-on favorite to win this bad boy at this point.
Yankees are in action today. Will Warren on the hill facing Gavin Williams and the Guardians. Cleveland -131 home favorites. New York +108. Run total here 8. Juice on the under, though, at -118. These two teams did play last week in New York. Guardians taking 2 of 3, kicking off the 3-game set today. And we did see Cleveland just get waxed last night. 10-0 loss to the Rangers. They're 23rd in the league in runs scored. But then we just talk about the Yankees lineup as well and the limitations they have now. So I understand why the juice is on the under. How do you see it tonight?
Man, I'm curious because we've seen this get bet up a little bit. So here at Circa initially opened up -115 in favor of the Guardians, but started to climb a little, or excuse me, dipped a little bit before it started to climb to that -126 price. Gavin Williams is pretty fascinating, dude. 13 starts, 81 2/3. And if you look at some of the projected numbers, if you look at like fielding independent, which is tied a little bit into how you handle home runs for the most part, ERA 320, FIP 355, XFIP 306. So pretty decent across the board, pretty tight with the ERA. But what I find so fascinating about Williams is he's a ground ball pitcher who, Stormy, is giving up a ton of hard contact, a barrel rate against him of 12.3%, which is very high, a hard hit rate of 46.8%, which is very high. But he's been getting away with it because he just puts the ball in play, doesn't let the ball get up, and then, let your defense do what it is. So I'm really curious, against a lineup like this without a piece like Aaron Judge, how that works, but in the big picture, how this works for Gavin Williams moving forward, because those are some atrocious contact numbers. We're talking 6th percentile for both of them. And yet he's getting away with it because of what you're looking at. Expected ERA is tied into a little bit more on the contact numbers. So his xERA is just about 4.23. So you see that baked in there. I feel like he is not a dude I want to lay $1.30 because I feel like you're sitting on a ticking time bomb. If he just happens to run into one of those starts where he's just lifting the ball in the zone and he's starting to get taken, that I think is going to be something fascinating to watch.
Okay, a series kicking off here in Las Vegas at the Las Vegas ballpark. The A's, who of course will call this city home in the, I guess we can call it near future. Milwaukee coming into town. Great pitcher on the hill for the Brewers today, and Kyle Harrison, -149 road favorites out here today. Total of 11. I have my thoughts, but I'm curious, especially because you saw my bet in the rundown when we get to the end of the show. You immediately were like, oh, okay. So what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, it's the total. So a small bit of inside baseball, but I do know Matt Nevert, who does play-by-play for the Las Vegas Aviators out here, the AAA affiliate for the Athletics, and was talking to him about this the other day. Like, this is an offensive-friendly ballpark.
Sure.
For those who are not familiar with it, they've got these jet streams, as they call them, kind of blowing out to right, and then down I think it's the third base line, like really tight to the third base line as well. And so with major league hitters in a ballpark like this over the course of this series, I'm pretty fascinated to see how this is going to get scored. And you see it. I mean, obviously it's an 11 right now that is hung up there, but he got to talk to some of the pitchers and how they're going to handle this and what their thoughts are coming in this. And it is going to be somewhat akin to Sacramento, so it does make some sense too. But this seems to be a very friendly park for some offense. So I cannot wait to see how this plays from a scoring standpoint. And if some of these major league hitters can't take advantage of it. It's not a particularly windy day today. It looks like some gusts up to like 14 miles an hour at the start of this game, but it's not going to be anything crazy by the time you get into the depths of this contest. So from a scoring standpoint, not just this game, but all of them are going to be pretty interesting.
And add into, we are at elevation here, right? 3,000 feet above sea level, second only to Mile High, but granted, obviously, like Mile is much higher than 3,000 feet. However, like that plays into it too. That said, I did do a parlay with the Brewers on the money line and the under 11 in the spot. And you get plus 216 for it. Kyle Harrison going. He's only given up 4 home runs all year. 2 of those his first 2 starts of the season. 1.57 ERA, giving up just 1 run his last 4 combined starts. Your fear is, of course, on the other side going against Jeffrey Springs. And we just saw the Brewers and how well they have been hitting recently at, coincidentally, Coors Field. However, that's just a lot to ask. And Milwaukee at large is dead last in Major League Baseball in home runs for the season. You just said the A's are used to playing in a minor league field to begin with. So my thought and hope is that this is a one-sided Milwaukee game that doesn't reach double digits.
Yeah, maybe. I think the other thing that I'm going to be curious about, both Harrison and Springs are fly ball pitchers. So in a park like this, I mean, just the dynamics of it are going to be pretty fun to watch to see if that's going to be the case. And again, not just for this game, but as we move forward for the series, because they're playing quite a few games out here on windier days, as we have seen out here in Vegas, it gets pretty damn windy. So how that affects it, it's pretty hot now. We're getting into the triple digits, so that'll affect it as well. They'll be cooler because we're playing at night, but I just think you're brave. I'm not necessarily going against you. I just think you're brave.
It's plus 216. And we'll do our best bets. Of course, we'll round it all out at the end of the hour.
Oh, I like the Brewer side of it.
It's a half unit play at plus 216 to pair a side that I feel really confident in and an under that I think is entirely possible.
You know what? I liken it to. I always give Doug credit for this, but we were talking about some total in the NBA, and it's like, it might be the statistical right side, but do you want to sweat that out? And a total of a 240 and whatever it is, Hawks in whatever game, and you're just like, man, you're watching them run up and down the court and dunk and do all this ridiculous stuff, and you're like, man.
But I'm even looking at like the last games for Kyle Harrison, and they have all been just that, exactly what I'm talking about, that one-sided, yes, relatively like a lot of runs scored on the other side. You have an 8-3 win, which would give you the push on the 11, but 6-0, 5-0, 7-1, right? Like that's tends to be the types of games that he pitches. So I'm just hopeful for more of the same in that. By the way, if you're looking for an edge in baseball and you want to talk to a real expert, our good buddy Jensen Lewis, former MLB pitcher, he and Dave Ross are breaking it down with the VSiN Daily Diamond all season long, giving you some sharp daily baseball betting insight. And you can subscribe to the VSiN Daily Diamond wherever you get your podcasts. While you're there, search VSiN for our full podcast lineup. You can find Money Moves while you're there, the Hardwood Handicappers podcast, Pod to the Futures, all of that good stuff in one place. We got to step aside. Excited when we come back, though, to dive back into the Stanley Cup final. VSiN's own Jonathan Davis, NHL betting expert, going to join us next in studio.
Hey, let me get your attention real quick, podcast listeners. I've got something for you that feels too good to be true. First, credit where credit is due. If you're listening to this podcast, you're already leveling up your betting game. You're riding along with our best bets and top angles. And when there's a good game on, you're probably getting involved with a few props and alt markets as well. But there's one more layer if you really want to step things up, and that's VSiN Pro. Yeah, I've mentioned it before, but things are only getting better for our pro subscribers. We just rolled out our MLB prop projections, breaking down some of the best edges across strikeouts, hits, home runs, and more. And that's on top of everything else pro subscribers already get, including public betting splits, expert picks, and betting guides across the sports calendar. If you haven't tried it yet, stop sleeping on it. You can get your first month for just $9.99 or save big with promo code POD26 on an annual subscription. Hit the link in the description and start cashing in with VSiN Pro. All right, now back to the show.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
An unbelievable Stanley Cup final, to say the least, as we welcome you back here to Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Stormy Buonantony and Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Excited for Game 4 on deck coming up tomorrow from here in Vegas. And because the Stanley Cup final is in Vegas, we get the good fortune of having Jonathan Davis in studio with us here at Circa, of course, VSiN NHL betting analyst. What's up, buddy?
I brought props.
I see that.
Yes.
Speaking of props, so you want to lift this up.
There you
That's
go.
the Mitch Marner towel that was on all the seats prior to game number 3. How profound.
Fastest hat trick in Stanley Cup final history, 4 points in a single period. So my thought was when you brought this in, it's like, okay, we need to find out who's on the towel for game 4 so we can actually set some props. We can make some bets.
Yeah. And oh, by the way, I was sitting the seat that I had in the press box right below Mike Maniscalco and Trip Tracy. It was unbelievable.
Could you hear them?
Oh, yeah. Loud and
awesome.
clear. It was great. I mean, I love Mike. I talked to him before the game. Just phenomenal.
I I asked Mike, and I was so impressed with him being able to keep his composure, knowing that Tripp is like all over him, fully tackling him during the call. So good.
All right, enough of this nonsense. Let's start arguing. Mitch Marner's going to win Conn Smythe regardless of the result of this series. That
Wrong.
is a stated fact.
So wrong.
He's going to win.
It's not, look, it's not Connor McDavid type playoff. I agree that throw a dart for Carolina right now. I mean, it's very hard. But if Carolina comes back to win the series, there's got to be somebody, I would think, that's going to emerge. I just don't think they're going to give it to a guy on a losing team again.
I don't want to speak for Stormy, but I think she would agree with this. I don't think it's comparing it to Connor McDavid. I think is a fool's errand, only because that was an award that was granted because of greatness. This will be an award granted by default almost because there was nobody else, right? So it's not. If Marner's been great, don't get me wrong, but it's just. There was nobody that paled. They all pale in comparison. I'll read this excerpt again really quickly. I sent this to Stormy earlier today.
While you look for it,
I already got it. That's fine.
McDavid setting Gretzky records. Like it's not that. But go ahead.
From The Athletic, the challenge isn't finding reasons Marner should win. It's finding reasons somebody else might become the playoff MVP, even if Carolina comes back and wins its second Stanley Cup in 20 years. Going into the Stanley Cup final, was Anderson their favorite?
For Carolina, yes, he has been the whole time.
So he was
now.
He was their most likely Conn Smythe winner, and he got benched, and he's given up a bajillion goals in the first 3 games. Like, there's just nobody else, and I think that's why Marner wins.
Okay, good, because I thought you were calling me a fool, and I was just going to come over and slug you.
Yeah.
Well, my thought on this, and I said it and call me crazy, but earlier
I'm ready for it.
was just that second line in particular that's been the best line for Carolina to this point, they all kind of, to some extent, can cancel themselves out a bit. Taylor Hall is the leader in the clubhouse, and he's still 11 points back and 4 goals back of what Mitch Marner has done. And you do have the narrative side for Marner, and he has made some history in the playoffs, albeit not Gretzky level, still making history and had some of those big moments. So to me, I think it's his. I understand why he's minus 205, but I also think Vegas is going to win the series, so it's not going to be a problem.
Well, I do too. Okay, I do think Vegas is going to win. Here's my long shot for Carolina. Jordan Staal at 120 to 1 or something like that. I think that's where he's at. That's my long shot.
Because of the impact plays? Because of the moments he's had?
17 years between Stanley Cups, talking about sentimental. He's got a goal in each game here in the final. I know it's not a final award, but he's had a good playoff for them. He's been huge for faceoffs. It's a reach. Like I understand what you're saying, JVT, on the Marner narrative and what they said in The Athletic. But yeah.
All right, so what do you think happens in goal? What would be your choice here if you're Carolina?
My choice is Brandon Bussey.
Okay.
And I say
so
that...
we agree on something today. There we go.
Because I thought Bussey, to me, for the 2.5 periods that he played, has looked better than Freddie in the 3 games that he's played. He looked under control. Freddie just... And when you guys were talking, at the top of the show about, Freddie, has he really let in a bad goal? The Marner hat trick goal, that's one that he's got to have. Mm-hmm. Like... Carter Hart's made, like the save that Carter Hart made on Mark Jankowski in overtime, I thought game was over right there. He's made big saves. I can't think of, Freddie making a big save in this final. I mean, and I'm still contending that the goalie interference on Barbashev was not goalie interference and the game should have been over.
Well, that's another thing, too. You think about all the goals he's let in this series. He's already given up, 12?
He's given up 6 in the second period, in truth.
Oh, yeah, and that's what I was going to say. He's given up 12, and that's not including the 3 that have been taken off the board, too.
Why were they taken off the board?
For various reasons
so they didn't
that were
count.
called correctly.
So you don't get to do that to my guy. You don't get to do that to my guy.
He's not your guy.
You don't get to do that.
By the way, here's one other stat on Freddie Anderson. It's now 8 straight games against Vegas, 3 goals or more he's given up.
Yep.
And maybe it's not all his fault, but it's still 3. That means you've got to get to 4 every time he's in net.
I'm going to ask the question I asked her. So she brought up different look in goal, right? When it's a different guy. My argument was dropping him in the midst of a third period when Marner said he didn't even know that the guy had changed. I think that's one thing. Can Bussey do it again when they actually now know, okay, we'll prepare for him, we'll watch film on him, and now all of a sudden we actually know he's in net?
He was outstanding the first half of the season. The worst thing that happened to Brandon Bussey this year was the Olympic break. He went south after the Olympics. But what we saw, and he's not he's not a rookie in the sense that he's, 21-year-old guy. I think he's 26, 27. I mean, I don't think
this is his first chance.
Right. I don't think this is, look, if they lose game 4, then you go back to Freddie. Like, I have no problem if you went back to Freddie for game 5.
Yeah, my thing has been the people that have mostly made the argument for Frederik Andersen starting this game has been like, okay, but he's just going to have a short leash. Why would you want to start a guy if that's your thought process about him entering the game, right?
Exactly.
I think my man's been given a raw deal.
I also think back to a lot of what we've talked
His
about.
own team's against him.
Excuse me.
His own team.
Throughout the course of the postseason that you have agreed with and made the argument for is the number of shots that he had faced going into this series to begin with, right? Carolina defensively in front of him did such a good job with shot suppression for so long that he didn't have to do as much. Now he's actually being asked to do stuff and hasn't stood up to the billing.
He was giving up 2
3
goals
shots
on
is
12 shots against Montreal. It's not good. Like
2 goals on 3 shots is hard. You know? Malicious facts.
How are you playing Game 4 tomorrow? Do you know?
the only thing that I've got right now, and there's 2 ways you can do it, and they both really equal the same thing. Both teams, you could do both teams to score 2 goals, and then Carolina plus 2.5 goals, Vegas plus 2.5 goals, plus 103. It's hitting all 3. What's also hitting all 3 is both teams plus 2.5 goals and over 4.5. So that's the way right now. That for me is the best bet.
How come we're not talking? Yeah, I thought our boy. I'm sorry,
Mike Maniscalco.
Maniscalco.
Whoa.
I was going to say Sebastian Maniscalco. I believe that's a comedian.
Sebastian Aho might have been where your brain was going.
Why don't we talk about Carter Hart the same way we talk about Freddie Andersen? He stunk, right? Carter Fart, as we have talked about before.
You know why? Because Carter Hart. You're right, and he hasn't. I mean, I think it's at least 12 of 14. I think it is that he's given up at least 2 goals, and maybe like 10 or 9 that he's given up 3. I agree. But it's kind of like back in the day with Grant Fuhr in Edmonton. He may give up 4. He's not going to give up the 5th. Mm-hmm. He didn't give up the Jankowski play. He's made big saves at the right time.
Man, my guy Bussy got screwed too.
And I'll tell you though, that's what I've talked to John Tortorella about this a number of times.
Name
He
drop.
said he does not care about save percentage, goals against, like those are not important
He
to him.
told you that?
He told me that to my face right there when I asked him about Carter Hart. And he said that he doesn't care about those things. He cares about making the save you got to make. And Carter Hart largely has made those. So there you go. Before we let you go, we got to ask you about Peter Laviolette.
Before we move off the series, I just want to point out one thing that we have not pointed out yet. 9 minus 3 equals 6. 6 other players have won the Conn Smythe on a losing team.
That is correct.
Signs.
And we're going to get 2 in. We're going to get 2.
Some would call that
years.
numerology.
We're going to get 2 in 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Laviolette getting hired to the Kings. Obviously, you're out there in LA. You are very plugged into this series. To this franchise? What do you think?
I don't think it matters who coaches. They're a bad team. Like they have roster problems that I don't think any coach is going to. Peter Laviolette, to me, he's got a 3-year leash, and it's going to take at least 3 years for this team to get back. I think the one thing that I do hear about Laviolette is that he learned a lot from his time in New York, where he took losses way too hard, and I think he's going to be a better coach than he was then. He's had a lot of success where he's gone, but there's not enough time.
We'll reunite with Artemi Panarin as well. So
yes,
there's
he will.
that.
Yes. They need 10 Artemi Panarins. That's the problem.
Very true. For the hockey novice, I know we've only got 90 seconds left. Can you explain this Mike Babcock thing that's going on as well?
Well, you need a guy that's got gravitas and who's won before. So that's why, look, they butchered the whole Knobloch situation. This was something where the Edmonton Oilers tried to play poker with the wrong team. And they really thought that they could leak the story, put the pressure on the league to force Vegas to let Cassidy go, and they lost. And they had no choice but to fire Knobloch. They didn't want to fire him, but they had to when they cut the legs out from under him.
For our audience, because I have this in front of me, Oilers are consulting with the NHLPA to see if there are objections that must be resolved before potentially hiring Babcock. Amid allegations of invading players' privacy, Babcock resigned as the Blue Jackets head coach, correct, in 2023. Further investigation may be required, as we're discussing here.
Actually, as I just refreshed my page, Sarah Sivian quote tweeted it and said, well, this just about seals Mitch Marner Conn Smythe. That's pretty good.
Hockey.
I bet you they're going to do it. They're going to do a tribute video for Babcock in Columbus, they did for Jonathan Quick, who never played a game for them either.
Oh goodness, this was awesome. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you making the time for us in studio. I'm surprised you made it after the Stanley Cup party upstairs with the media last night.
That ended early.
Okay.
It was
as in at 4 this morning.
No, at like 7 at 7 p.m.
Wow.
Just
I'm sure there were
stuffy hockey.
Something tells me there were some lingerers downstairs, though. Okay, we got to step aside. We'll be back with more on Money Moves after this.
watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Played some of the audio earlier from Stefan Castle talking about the San Antonio Spurs' sense of urgency. They need to enter Game 3 with tonight as the series shifts to MSG, down 2-0. Stormy Bonantoni, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Back here on Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. And that said, the New York Knicks only 1.5-point home favorites tonight, despite having this crowd that everybody keeps talking about and all of the energy. People think there's going to be a desperation element here to the San Antonio Spurs. To help us find out a little bit more about where the Spurs are at entering Game 3, excited to have Jacob Toby join us here on the Progressive Guest Line. Spurs TV play-by-play man. You've been around this team all season long. You know them so intimately. What are your expectations for how San Antonio is going to come out tonight for Game 3?
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. Really excited to just watch this on tonight. This is going to be a surreal scene. MSG, so much security with who's coming to the building. So there's a lot there. This team has not lost 3 straight games since last year. So I think it was the start of April. They haven't lost 3 straight since the start of last April. They've only lost 2 straight games twice this year, once in January and then once in the last round against the Thunder. So they know how to respond. Mitch Johnson, their head coach, has talked about the team's competitive response all season long. And they've seen guys on their team have big performances in big situations before. Victor dropped 40-plus points last year in MSG on Christmas Day, had one of the great performances ever in MSG history on Christmas Day. So it all hinges on him. If he comes out and drops 30, 40, 50, whatever it is, and dominates, I think the Spurs win this game tonight.
So I'm curious from the Wembanyama standpoint, because there's so many different layers to this in this series so far, but I wanted to start with just him. How much do you think this load of minutes, games played, the most we've seen in his career for him, how much do you think that's impacting the way he's playing in this series as this postseason run extends out?
Yeah, I mean, a little almost played 50 minutes, game 1 against the Thunder, double overtime. But, that's now 2 weeks in the past, at least 2.5 weeks. So there was some lag time after that, games 2 and 3, when the Spurs lost to Oklahoma City. No doubt, little exhaustion there, but these 2 days of rest, Saturday, Sunday, big time. Now, obviously, Saturday was a travel day for the Spurs, but they got here early. They got acclimated to the city. I saw Victor was out in a park drawing something with his sister and his dad. So he's feeling light. He's feeling good. He loves to be out in New York. Last year during Christmas time, he was here and was out playing chess with people. So I don't think necessarily for this game the tiredness will be a big factor. I do think the Spurs bench has to play better. I think that's no secret about it. They were getting kind of handed it to them with the Thunder bench in the last series, and so far the Knicks bench has been better. Those role guys make big shots like Landry Shamet. And a guy for the Spurs, Keldon Johnson, 6th man of the year, has only scored over 15 points twice this playoff run. He did it 30 times in the regular season, and the Spurs were 24-6. So I think a guy like Keldon, who has so much energy, he's the longest tenured Spur on the team. He's Mr. San Antonio. Like, that's a guy on the road that you need, and I expect him to have a big game because they need him to. They need somebody off the bench to give Victor a spell. And Luke Kornet we've seen him struggle at times. We've seen him come up with big blocks, big plays at times. Keldon's kind of that steady presence. He hasn't necessarily had his best postseason, and he'd be the first to tell you that. So I think a guy like him is that much more crucial tonight in a game where your back's against the wall and he's Mr. Spur.
Speaking of being out in the streets of New York, you were out in the streets of New York, right? How was that?
Yeah, so I just went to lunch after shoot around this morning, and I have a Spurs polo on, and so I'm from Boston, so I'm a big Red Sox fan, and I will always come to New York City and wear my Red Sox shirt. I went to the game yesterday. Red Sox lost. Who cares? But I got some looks there, so I'm used to it, and I just wanted to see our fans as mean to Spurs fans as they are to Red Sox fans, and the answer is yes. I got a FU. Some guy came up to me and said, "Hey, can I take a picture with you?" And I was like, "Oh, you know I'm a Spurs announcer or whatever." And he goes, no, you're wearing a Spurs shirt. I want to ask you why you're wearing that. And he wanted to take a video with me, and I just kind of ran away and laughed about it. Some guy rolled down his window and put the thumbs down. So teenagers gave me a look. I got booed at a restaurant. So I love it. I'm all for it. Being from the Northeast, I'm here for it. And so I try to bring that same thing to San Antonio. The Spurs fans are really nice, and they were nice to Knicks fans. There was one fight near our post-game show spot, but that's a different story. But I love walking around New York, and like I said, Victor was out in public, so if he can be out there, anybody can be out there.
I'll follow up real quick and just say our own Zach Cohen, who's our lead NBA guy, but also has New York ties, says that you were getting John's Bleecker Street, which is very good pizza. So he co-signed the pizza that you got as well.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of best friends that live. I know some of the good spots, and that's a place I've been going to for a while. So I've lived in Denver, I've lived in Oklahoma, I've lived in San Antonio. Again, I'm from Boston. I go to New York a lot. The pizza is just not as great in those other spots as it is in New York. So that's you have to go to the good spots when you're here.
The full New York experience, the good and the bad. There we go.
Yeah.
I do want to go back to Victor Wembanyama here briefly, though, because he is somebody who, despite his youth, really thinks through everything that he says. And when he was asked the other day about the way that Karl Anthony Towns has played him, he kind of sidestepped the question a little bit, aside from just acknowledging that Cat's a really good player. What have you thought of the way that Karl Anthony Towns has defended him? And is there a way you think that Victor Wembanyama ultimately can overcome that to have the monster type of performance you're talking about?
Yeah, I think Cat is giving him space and letting him shoot threes. I think Victor's average shot distance hasn't been what it was in the regular season. The Spurs in general, game one, I believe it was like 15.3 feet away from the basket, which was the second largest shot distance in the playoffs. Game two, I think, was similar. Might have been slightly better, but that's not great, right? He's 7 foot. The Spurs should get him to the rim. And I think people are misunderstanding how Victor plays. He has never truly been, to this point in his career, someone that you literally dump it down to like Shaquille O'Neal and he backs his way down, dribble, and then turns around. That's just not how Victor plays. He gets a lot of stuff on lobs, fast break points when he's running in transition. Him and Stephon Castle, they call themselves Area 51 because it's always a Castle throwing it to Victor. Castle's number 5, Victor's number 1, and it's always this lob thing. And the lobs haven't been there, but the lobs haven't been there in general a lot in this postseason. Specifically, last series against the Thunder, haven't really seen many lobs to Victor in these two games. Just getting back to running and quick decision making. I also thought on the defensive side, like Victor's always an impact on defense. Like there's no doubt about that. So let that fuel the offense. If the Spurs get stops, they can go out and run. Mitch Johnson has wanted to play with pace all season long. They were top, 12 in pace in the regular season. They've tried to stay up half of the playoffs in terms of pace. So to me, it's playing fast, making quicker decisions, but smart decisions. I know turnovers were an issue at the end of last game, but for Victor, it's a mix. Always a mix. Get started down low, dunk over everybody, be Shaquille O'Neal guy, but also go out and hit some threes like Kevin Durant. Like to me, that's always how it's worked. But the shot distance thing, that's you want to watch out for that because they've been pushing him out, and Cat's kind of been sitting back and playing well. Give it up to him. I would pick him as the Finals MVP right now.
Love to hear it. As that is what I've been shouting from the rooftops of the two games. Really quickly, how important do you think the way this game will be called is going to impact the way this might play out? Because Fred Katz wrote a pretty good piece in The Athletic, and one of the things he mentioned was OG Anunoby, I'm paraphrasing, is not going over or under Wembanyama screens. He's going through them. They're kind of bumping him when he's rolling to the basket. Do you think if they start to call some of these, this changes in favor of San Antonio? How have you thought the way these games have been called through the first two games of the series?
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. I know it's a big topic. Everyone wants to talk about the officiating. Just to peek behind the curtain a little bit. As a play-by-play guy, I try not to harp too much on it because there's nothing I can do about it sitting there, right? I'm just calling what it is and seeing what it is. I still think the Thunder were more physical than the Knicks were with Victor. To be honest with you, Hartenstein was nonstop pushing and shoving Victor Wembanyama, and he had to deal with that. And I don't necessarily think the Knicks have been that much more physical than the Thunder. So to me, I don't see the officiating being the biggest deal why the Spurs are down 0-2. It's more decision making on their part. Should they have called the timeout? Victor throwing the ball away and then the foul, right? If he had thrown the ball away, that's okay. But then the foul sent Brunson to the free throw line, and the Spurs were lucky that he missed, one of two, right? So the Spurs would tell you that the officiating, they're not going to harp on that. That's just not the way this team rolls. This organization doesn't think like that. To me, the bigger thing is just the crowd, the energy, who's sitting courtside, who's up in a suite, the security presence. I mean, Ja'Aaron Fox talked about it this morning at shoot around, saying it is convenience that their Secret Service is there because the buses are earlier, guys' naps are cut short, pregame routines are changed up, as many bags as you would want. So they're being told not to bring as much stuff. So it's that stuff is going to alter the game, in my opinion, a little bit more than the officiating, just because you never really know with the officiating. You never truly know. So if you harp on it too much, it's just going to make you go crazy. In my opinion, I know a lot of people love to talk about it like that. I don't choose to really put much thought into it, but it is a talking point. I get it.
No, it's a great breakdown and a unique wrinkle, like you mentioned, with the president being on the premises for this one. Jacob, thank you so much, and enjoy the action coming up tonight.
I will. Everyone's been sending me messages like, "Be safe, don't get hurt." I'm like, I'm good, I'm all right. Again, I'm from the Northeast. I can deal with it. I chose to wear this shirt. It's not like I didn't choose to wear it. So I'm going to do it again tomorrow. I'm going to go out for another pizza place tomorrow and see what happens.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
The sports calendar never stops, and the Sharp Plays covers it all. They've been winning for 15 straight years. All of it documented, logs posted publicly at sharpplays.com. That kind of transparency is rare in this industry. When the Sharp Plays move, the sports books take notice. Advanced AI, trusted insider intel, they find the value before numbers shift. Check them out today at sharpplays.com. Deep breath, deep sigh. Why?
I'm getting irritated.
About?
So NBA Live, I don't know what the NBA show is called up on ESPN. I never really pay attention, but they're doing a segment right now, and they're promoting the piece up on ESPN.com, which we like to do, by the way. Go to VSiN.com, check out all the wonderful writing.
Zach Cohen, great stuff.
Zach Cohen, who I believe is watching and feeding his young child right now, has some great articles up on the website at
He has some great
VSiN.com.
taste of what he wants his child to learn and listen to.
That
Love
is correct. We have a lot of World Cup content that is going up there, including our own local Brit, Alex Blowers, has got some articles up there as well. But read the lower third here. Promoting the article by Ramona Shelburne, how Jalen Brunson became the undisputed king of New York. We're going to do this. They're going to take this from my guy. I will commit a crime if Karl Anthony Towns does not win. I don't know what that crime is.
He still has to continue playing.
It might just be petty theft. I don't know. But I will commit some sort of infraction if Karl Anthony Towns does not win Finals MVP.
Is this as criminal as Stephen A. Smith saying he doesn't care if he gets a ring if the Knicks win?
I didn't know you were up for it. You know what? I've decided I don't need a ring either, Knicks.
He did also say today,
I have contributed just as much.
On First Take, I saw that if the Knicks lose, he is fully blaming President Trump. That is the reason that he went out there on a limb and said. The security angle of this is really interesting because I didn't realize that what Jacob was telling us last segment about you're not allowed to, you can't bring necessarily all of your usual stuff that you might typically have from a team standpoint and from an individual player standpoint, and taking you out of your rhythm and flow. And there are certain guys, whether it's in the NBA or NHL, right? They have their set time that they are used to getting to the arena by, and they have their routine, and it's to time essentially. So could throw you off a little bit.
It's a good thing that Trump is going because this might be the only sporting event that he's going to attend this week. Well, it sounds like the UFC card might get canceled.
Oh, I didn't. So, yeah. Do you want to talk about that real quickly?
Sure.
Because we were talking with our own Rob Moreno, does a great job.
To be clear, by the way, it was not a threat.
No.
Wow. That might come across.
No.
That was not. That was more of an alluding to the fact that the card might get canceled.
But I walked in the studio earlier today, and you and Rob Moreno,
like I was crazy,
who hosts First Strike with our own Dave Ross each and every week, breaking down the various UFC and MMA cards.
Yes.
You guys were just kind of going on and on about the weather possibilities, and it could get rained out, and how dangerous it could be situationally for some fighters trying to do things for a Freedom 250 this week.
There's already an inherent danger, or just not. It's humid out there. Obviously, I believe somebody could correct me on this. I believe Washington D.C. is considered like a swamp type area, so there's going to be humidity and bugs and all sorts of things. So just the normal aspect of playing outdoors, just any sort of sport, in humidity like that, I would assume the mat's going to be slick. But it does sound like there are some storms potentially in the forecast, and what that means if it gets rained out. So I'm obviously, I think with the rest of the country, very interested to see if the weather happens, what happens, because from what I can tell and from what I have been told, there is no awning, there is no cover, there is no anything that is out there to prepare for rain. So that is going to be something to watch for the 250 card later. But that is what I was referring to.
Well,
that is what I meant.
For as long as the card is still available to bet and not canceled.
Yes.
The hope is that we will preview that with Rob a little bit later on in the week. Did want to give you a couple quick updates as well out of Carolina Hurricanes morning skate earlier today.
Oh, here we go.
A lot of people were freaking out initially because there was word that Frederick Anderson was not out there on the ice, and it was Brandon Bussey in the starter's net. Turns out it's just a maintenance day. No decision has been made. We haven't heard from Rod Brindamore on that yet. William Carrier, who was also injured in Game 3, was out there skating. So just little update there as we get set for Game 4 going into tomorrow. But it is the time of the program where we do the best bets. Let's recap our plays from Friday before we get into what we're adding to the account today. I went 2-0 on Friday, which was good to see. Rays on the money line cashed. No sweat at all in Miami taking on the Marlins. And Karl Anthony Towns over 10.5 rebounds got there as well. I was a little bit anxious late in the game when he got some of those ticky-tack fouls and was not feeling good about it when he was stuck on 9 at the time, but ends up going way over, so not an issue there. Our pending bets as well, just for the finals at large, over 5.5 games that I laid freaking -170 for. So if one of my bets that I do have added tonight ends up coming through, I'm not going to feel great about where that bet is at currently.
That's a good point.
For the Stanley Cup final, Logan Stankoven, most shots on goal. That's dead, sadly. Marner's got 14, by the way, which is 10 more than the Stank, so that's not great. Jack Eichel, -1.5 points against Seth Jarvis as well. They are both even at this point. Also, my suggested Marner -1.5 points against Sebastian Aho was plus money. I thought that the Eichel one was the safer play, so that's the one that I ended up playing. Pretty mad at myself how that's playing out right now. And then, of course, those futures, Golden Knights to win the Cup, Mitch Marner to win Conn Smythe. I am holding out hope on. How about you?
I was looking up what the single game record was for a single player in shots on goal. I was like, maybe he can get, maybe this thing can get like 10 today, but that's a lot.
If only.
I forgot how tight they are with everything. 1 and 2 losers on Friday. Knicks plus 6.5 got there. The over, really good number, but closing line value matters not when the result doesn't go your way. Over 214.5, and then Josh Hart over 1.5 3-pointers does not get there either. So we will be rooting for the Knicks tonight because we're going back to the well. First 2 games of this series has been Knicks. Let's go. Knicks -1.5, the only bet for me tonight.
Team play on the Knicks. I laid it as well in the commercial break. So let's see if they can get it done. I know that there has been a lot of talk about San Antonio, backs against the wall, the sense of urgency, all of that stuff that we discussed earlier today. But all that leads me to believe is that we're getting a really big discount on the Knicks at home tonight. And they have been awesome. 13 straight wins, 12-1 against the spread, winning by margin more often than not, and handled business on the road. Why not be able to do it at home? So I'm with you there. And then I have a baseball play today. We talked about it a little bit earlier. I am doing a little half unit play on the Brewers money line in under 11 runs plus 216. I know you're not laughing at my bet. Why are you laughing?
I'll finish it.
Although you disagree with my bet anyways. And I understand JVT,
again, I don't necessarily disagree. I'm just, I think you're brave.
It's a small ballpark. Yeah. It's warm. I get it.
The jet streams.
But it's still one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball going for the Brewers right now. I'm hoping that this is a one-sided game that stays low scoring relative. Like if this is a 10-0 win, we get there. So that's the goal, at least plus 216. It's more of a fun play for me knowing that the A's are in town and playing in Vegas. I wanted to have a little bit of action on the game today.
Okay. All right. So I got 2 things to cover here in the last couple of minutes. The quick one is Brian checks in. You can check in with us at moneymoves@vsin.com email, as well as at Storm Bonatoni at me, JVT. Stormy, get ready to work the rest of the week alone if JVT states he's going to commit a crime and then proceeds to make the UFC comment the way that he did. That's very true. It's a good point, Brian. I should not have said that in any way, shape, or form. The other thing is we got news. I don't know if it was today, yesterday, but the Milwaukee Bucks, the front office is stating that they would like a sit rep and a situation finalized with Giannis Antetokounmpo by the time we get to the NBA draft or thereabouts. So that's coming at the end of the month. So interesting move in the market as rumors are abound that Giannis Antetokounmpo prefers South Beach. And the Miami Heat have gone from about 5-1 over at DraftKings, 7-1 to the odds-on favorite to land Giannis Antetokounmpo for his first regular season minute to be played for them. Now, here's the thing, because a lot of people will tell you this. Oh, somebody knows something. No, the market knows nothing. That is just on the heels of the reports that he would prefer to play for Miami. The Bucks owe Giannis Antetokounmpo nothing, and they don't owe it to him to trade him to wherever they want or wherever he wants. They owe it to get the best deal available. The Trailblazers did it to Damian Lillard, and I'm sure the Bucks, if they're smart, would do the same thing. Thanks for the trophy. Get out. We need the best package possible.
Speaking of odds-on favorites as well, we did get another tweet as well at PGHPLS. Stormy, you're so confident in Mitch Marner winning regardless of result that you got me worried about your confidence in VGK at this point. No, I think the Golden Knights are going to win. I think I said that, right, with Jonathan Davis on here. I think that Vegas is going to win, so it's going to be a non-issue. But I have been sold as somebody who early on in this series said I did not think Mitch Marner would be able to win it if they were on the losing side. I have changed my tune, especially following a game where he made history in numerous ways.
What's more offensive to the hockey fanatic? You're going to speak for them. Mitch Marner winning that Conn Smythe on a losing team, even though he doesn't match the greatness of like a Connor McDavid and the others that have done it.
And even though it's a Canes team that hasn't won in 20 years.
Or picking somebody out of a hat on a Canes team that somehow comes back in the series just because you got to give it to somebody on the winning team.
That's what I think's more egregious.
You know what I mean? I'm with you. Yeah.
Like just the dude has been unbelievable. The points and goals margin, the impact moments he's had, making history now in a number of ways. I think that's the better. And it stinks. I mean, minus 205, right?
That's to pay off the tease from all the way to the beginning of the show as we get out of here. That's the bet that the world won't end by the time the series ends. It seems like it. Like minus 205. Again, I'm being hyperbolic, but it's just he has such a stronghold. They're up in the series. He's so much better than anybody on Carolina. It seems pretty strong.
If you want our full breakdown on that, by the way, download hour 1 of the Money Moves podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Yeah, download them both while you're there. Listen on your own time. That's a wrap for us today, though. Stick around. Follow the money coming up next with Mitch and Paul, Nick Whalen, as well as Paul Bovey on the show, breaking down all things NBA Finals Game 3.
The hairless Paul Bovey. Let's hear it.
The hairless?
Story.